Hi, just want to give you some answers to this workbook on energy. We'll be circling back to these topics again and again, but they will be on your next open note test. And so I just want to point out that I have linked just recently this file, which of course is called my key, if you look here, to the notes from chapter 2, the fuel for exercising muscle. And so I will show you here that all the answers for these are basically from the textbook and are made from the textbook slides. So here we go. Answer to chemical reactions in the body or metabolism, energy from chemical bonds in food stored in this high energy compound. Notice ATP, it does not have a big supply, but it's storing energy. So I go right here. Okay, and you can see all these words: chemical reactions in the body, bioenergetics. Um, the energy for a gram of carbohydrate is 4 kilocalories or kcals. The energy yield for per gram of fat is 9, so notice more than twice as much. Substrate, remember that would be carbohydrate, protein, fat, where we talk about energy substrates for the most part. For storing energy in the body is at least 70,000 kcals. That's fat. So that's a lot. If you burn 2,000, 3,000 calories a day, that's where we get our month from, if you do the math. The process of converting substrates into energy performed at a cellular level. So go back to the notes. Process of converting substrates into energy performed at a cellular level right here, right? See that? Okay. So it's all in the notes. Let's see if we can find another one that I got from the note. Here we have things about what a calorie is. And then here we have the types of substrates. A lot of people were missing, probably because the graph, how much carbohydrate and fat you use at rest. There we have the ATP. And here we have the amount of energy for carbohydrate. Notice here it's carbohydrate. And then how much carbohydrate you store. So moving along, the process of converting substrates into energy performed at a cellular level is called bioenergetics. I probably would not ask you that, so it's not that important. It's just a word from the textbook. Lower the activation energy for chemical reaction is enzymes. All carbohydrate is converted to this molecule glucose. So like glycogen will be converted to glucose. Fuel sources from which we make energy are called substrates. Once again, carbohydrate, fat, and protein. And the heat energy required to create 1 gram of water from 14.5 to 15.5. If you want to be super precise, your warming up water is a kilocalorie. Okay, same thing. Glycogen is stored in the liver and muscles. Please, please, please. You must know this. This is extremely important. Energy for muscular activity at cellular operations is primarily derived from carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. You should know that too. 1 kilocalorie is equivalent to 1,000 calories. Kilo meaning 1,000, meaning usually when we say calories, we really mean kcals. It's just think of yourself instead of being a little bit of water, you're a lot of water. So you're going to be more, and you weigh kilograms, so it makes sense. But it's just easier to think in smaller numbers than big numbers. When a person is at rest, about 50% of their ATP is made from carbohydrates and about 50% from fat, even though the graph I have in my slides makes it look like it's a lot lower. They were just making a point that as exercise intensity goes up, the amount of carbohydrate use goes up. Any extra glucose circulating in your blood can be sent to the liver and muscles and stored as glycogen. And let me just point out, this will get maxed out. You don't have unlimited. So once you fill up on glycogen, whatever your glycogen capacity is. For most people, it's about 2,500 calories, 2,500. Then you start converting it to fat. So you don't get unlimited glycogen. The process of converting protein into usable glucose is called gluconeogenesis, sugar new making. While if protein is converted to fat, this process is called lipogenesis. Notice you can eat too much protein. Your body's not going to waste it. It'll dump out the nitrogen, which makes amino acids, and then you convert the rest to fat. So yes, protein gets converted to fat. Complete the chemical reaction, ATP and water, using this enzyme. You know it's an enzyme because it ends in A, so there's a chemical reaction, and ATP is broken down. Everyone should know this. ADP, inorganic phosphorus, and then you get some energy. And the key thing here is the energy from splitting ATP. You need water and you need this enzyme. The 3 ATP synthesis pathways. All right, let me show you this in the slides. So let me back away. I add more stuff than is needed, but I think it's helpful. Notice here we have the word lipogenesis on this slide. And here showing you the pictures. if I keep going down, hold on, I know I saw it. Here we go. So here's the last one that I just said for the last question. You have it right here. Okay, that was on slide 22 for this slideshow. And then if I go to, I lost myself here. Bioenergetics, the basic energy system. So your basic energy systems are, and everyone should know this in this class, anaerobic, you're making ATP from phosphocreatine or creatine phosphate. It's the same thing. The glycolytic system, everybody should know this. Glycolysis is anaerobic. You're splitting sugar. In the oxidative system, and there's multiple oxidative systems where you can split carbohydrates or fats and so on. And here you can see, the cartoon for that. You have anaerobic, ATP and PCR in the pink, or the lactic acid system. It's harder to read the blue, but that says aerobic, and it says aerobic energy systems. So it's right out of the slides, it's right out of the book, and it's right out of class. This gets a little confusing for some people. Down here is a lot of biology textbooks will say per glucose, and I added this word per glucose. I didn't specify in the question. So some people are answering for fat and some are answering for carbohydrates. It's 32 to 33. A lot of textbooks will say 36 because they're adding in the ATPs from glycolysis and they're not subtracting the amount it causes to build. But so a lot of textbooks would say 36, but it's going to be 30. So it's not a trick question. It's like, don't get hung up. But if you see 30-ish, 32 to 36, that is ATP from glucose. And notice the key word here is oxidative, not anaerobic. If it's anaerobic, it's going to be a lot less ATP. Notice the glycolytic system, which is the anaerobic system here, predominates during high intensity because your heart and lungs can't keep up with the demand from your muscles. And that's when oxygen cannot be quickly supplied to the cells quickly enough. That's what I just said. So your heart can't pump the blood, your lungs can't grab the air fast enough. So at maximum intensity exercise, which people rarely do, maximum intensity as hard as you possibly can do, you're going to go for about 2 minutes time. And we even seen on some videos it is, depending on what we call maximum intensity, it can be a lot less. All right, I'm just going to go to the next 10 questions. And a lot of these were in a Google form as well. The glycolytic system has tremendous energy yielding capacity, so it's the primary method of energy production during endurance events. Endurance means long, right? So definitely more than 2 minutes. So obviously that should be fast. It's going to be short events that we do glycolysis. That's the same question. A healthy body uses little protein during rest and exercise as an energy substrate. I had to add as an energy substrate, but you don't really use protein for energy. It's something that you sort of use to build body parts. That's true. Little protein. When phosphorylation occurs without the aid of oxygen, it's called aerobic metabolism. That's false because with oxygen is aerobic. Lactic acid can be used as a fuel source during energy. Let me show you this. It's in the slides. There's much discussion about lactic acid in exercise, and I personally find it to be not that exciting, other than the fact that it's recycled and does affect, the fact that it's acidic and that affects the pH. So notice, let me point out the slide here. Lactic acid is an important fuel during exercise. Muscles can use lactate in 3 ways, and it shows you the way it can be used, and it sort of gets recycled. And this is a picture of your liver here, which can process a lot of fuels. The liver is an amazing organ and does a lot of cool things. So notice, here, going back, you don't really use protein for energy. It's really used for other things. Okay, just a couple more. Building proteins from amino acids, for example, from different foods into muscle and enzymes is a type of catabolic reaction. I guess I should bold this right here. Catabolism, we learned, means breaking down. Anabolism means building. So anabolic would be building. So if you see the word building, then you want to see anabolic. When you see breaking down, it's catabolic. One way to increase the production of a product, for example, production of creatine from phosphocreatine, is increase the amount of enzyme. So here's just a key concept that no matter if you don't have let's say you want to burn a lot of fat, but you don't have the enzymes to break down your fat, you're not going to be able to do it. And if you put in a lot of creatine in your body, but you don't have the enzymes to break down the creatine, you're not going to be able to do it. So it's not as simple as dumping the fuel in your body. You're going to be relying on the enzymes, and your body makes the enzymes. The enzymes are proteins. So this really gets into training and differences between individuals. People are going to have different enzyme levels, probably that'll respond to training in their environment differently, and possibly their diet. And so you're going to need the enzymes. Very important concept. As high school students, this can take a while to sink in, and I understand that. But the take-home message is that training can be just as important as what you eat. ATP is stored in cells in very limited amounts. And that's the key, that we have to breathe all the time because we always have to make new ATP. And that's true. And then these ones are from the textbook and they start getting repetitive and more detailed. And when we talk about fatigue and getting tired, we'll go into this in more detail. So I hope this helps. If you tried the workbook or you tried the Google form, make sure you know this stuff. And then I would just like to point out again that if you go to the Google Slides, everything's in there. If you watch the videos, it's all in there. And these questions come straight out of the slides, which come straight out of your textbook. That's it.